What's happening, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Phightin Words, Monday, March 30th. Remember that feel-good podcast that we had on Friday? Rough weekend. Rough final 2 days down at Citizens Bank Park against the Rangers this weekend. And Anthony Sanfilippo's here. I'm Bob Wankel, and we're gonna digest all of that and overreact and panic and tell you that this team is screwed. No, we're not going to do any of those things, but we will unpack what we saw on Saturday and Sunday. Most of it was not very pleasant, especially from the offensive side of things. So, Anthony, you were down there and you were in the clubhouse after the game. And before we go through player by player and all this stuff, what was the takeaway in the clubhouse after this week? And I'm certain it wasn't panic, but did anyone feel that was pretty pathetic?
I think that. Well, no, nobody said the word pathetic. By the way, check private chat. I just sent you a message. I wouldn't say that anybody felt like it was pathetic. They all kind of gave the same line as you would expect, right, Bob? I mean, it's just one weekend. We're just trying to get back into the swing of things. Everything will be all right. I mean, that was kind of the main takeaway from inside the clubhouse. What I will say that I thought was an interesting choice of words was when Rob said that the team was a little anxious. It depends on how and we had a little bit of a discussion about this amongst some of the writers, was like, how do you interpret the word anxious? Like, if you take it literally, it means that they're basically crapping their pants at the plate, right? But if you use it colloquially, which is what I think Rob was trying to do, that you're sitting there saying that they're just a little jumpy. They're getting out ahead of themselves a little bit, and trying to get off to such a great start that maybe that they hurt themselves that way. I think that's more what he's trying to say. But Matt DeGeorge asked Bryce Harper about it, and he kind of was very dismissive of the question and said, we're not that kind of team. So I think Bryce kind of took it the way the question was asked as the first definition, right? So it's really kind of how you interpret what he said. I don't know. We could break down the individual players. There was 3 guys who hit this weekend, 3.
Yeah. And
this was the worst weekend offensively by a Phillies team since 2015. And we don't want to remember the 2015 team, right? I mean, that was some bad baseball back then. So, it's just one weekend, and I'm sure they will break out of it. They're playing the Nationals and the Rockies and the winless Giants coming up here. They'll break out of this, but not a good start for sure.
No, it really wasn't. And I mean, it's really hard this early. I like to get 3, 4, 5 series in, so that way we can at least look at some sample size. And the weather was not great, although it did not seem to impact Texas all that much, certainly yesterday. I appreciate the fact that they got back into the game in the 9th inning on Saturday. You can talk about showing some fight. They could have just simply packed it in at that point, although it did require a pop-up to be dropped to open the door. It was a weird weekend. I don't think you should overreact. I also think that it's very easy. If you're ready to pounce on this team, and I saw a little bit of this yesterday, and I saw a little bit and heard a little bit of this already this morning. If you have all these concerns about this team and you're like the same old Phillies, it's the same shit, different year, this weekend really fed into that for you. So you're probably pretty happy. If you're a miserable person that kind of hates this team and doesn't trust it, then what a weekend it was for you. Because it's up and down the lineup. It was just easy to be like, see, same old. And I look, I'm not saying it's unfair, but I can also I also get it. I also understand if you kind of rolled your eyes this weekend and said, this looks very, very, very much the same. And too much home run, living and dying by the home run. It wasn't there Saturday and Sunday. I understand all of it. But at the end of the day, you're talking about a top of the order. Whether or not they were anxious or trying too hard or whatever it was, they were 5 for 37 in this series. And that is brutal. The runners in scoring position, Saturday, they're actually 3 for 8, so it wasn't that bad. They were 6 for 22 overall, which is not great. It does not stand out, but it's not absolutely dreadful. But you go in player by player by player, and it's pretty ugly. And not to mention, they struck out at least 10 times in all 3 games as well. So if you're concerned about this offense, this week against the Rangers, this weekend against the Rangers, did nothing to make you feel better.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting the way that the Rangers approached pitching them. And I thought that they pitched them differently yesterday, Sunday, than they did Friday and Saturday. Friday and Saturday, they were all about just getting first strikes and getting the Philly, getting ahead of the Phillies hitters. Yesterday, Phillies were a lot more patient. And I don't know if it was because, look, I thought Mackenzie Gore pitched well, but the Phillies did walk 8 times yesterday, right? So there was, maybe it was more getting into that mediocre Texas bullpen that kind of led to that. But I felt like their approaches, even though they didn't hit, the approaches at the plate were a little bit better yesterday. But still, you're right. I mean, like you can't have those kinds of games regularly where you are putting your pitchers in a position where they have to be almost flawless to kind
and they were not,
which they weren't, right? And to keep you in them. And, yesterday especially, they just were never in the game. And there were several at-bats between Saturday and Sunday where they had opportunities to say, okay, here's a big spot offensively, even though you're losing in the game or whatever, and you can get back into it right here. And they just didn't, right? Like, I mean, Trey Turner was that Saturday, came up with the bases loaded, and it was just a terrible at bat. Harper had a chance, didn't come through. I'm just trying to remember them all. Alec Bohm, yesterday had one, didn't come through. And look, you're not going to get every time. Obviously, you want a guy to get a hit every time, right? But it's not going to happen. So there's going to be times. This is baseball, right? It's just going to be times where they don't come through. But the reality was everybody missed that opportunity. There wasn't a time the clutch hit happened, and that's something that has plagued this
team. Yes, for sure.
Right? And so, I think that's part of why you sit there and go, okay, same old, same old.
Well, there are a lot of guys, as I said off the top here, that you can kind of go into and say, oh, pretty rough weekend. Whether or not you want to say it was a concerning weekend, that's a different story. But I have to be honest with you. We need to give the people a show here. And I'm not just going to sit here and say, oh, it doesn't matter at all, or everything's great. This team's going to be top 10 this, top 10 that. It's all good. I think you're doing people a disservice if you just write off everything that you watch, even though you have to understand that it's 3 games. I'm gonna give the people something here. I'm gonna make an admission to despite the fact that all but 3 Phillies, were pretty terrible all weekend offensively, the guy that just jumps off the page, and if there are 100 people listening to this, it could be split probably with 4 different players to fill in what I'm about to say. But for me, it's Trey Turner. Trey Turner drives me absolutely up a wall. My tolerance for Trey Turner has already it's gone, and it's March 30th. And the guy won a batting title last year. Let me just say that again, because I need to make sure that I put it on the record that I acknowledge this. He won a batting title last year. Okay. Now, with that said, he looks so absolutely feeble at the plate. And what an easy out and what a non-competitive approach he's so often brought to the plate this weekend. And the 5th inning on Saturday, they get back into the game a little bit, have a chance. You feel the game tilting in their favor, and he just puts together an absolute dog shit at bat. And then he backs it up yesterday. I know game's 8-2 in the 7th inning. I'm not saying that the Phillies are on their way to a comeback, but they draw a couple walks in the 7th, and you kind of say, all right, maybe they can make this weird again. And what's he do? He comes up and has another terrible at bat and rolls into a double play. And 2 for 13 this weekend with 2 chopping singles up the middle. I just need more. And when he's hitting 290 in the middle of May, and everyone's like, oh, it's unfair, he gets a bad rap. He's really good. He's underrated, underappreciated. It's weekends like this weekend with Trey Turner that just I just think I feel like his performance is so hollow so often.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that if Trey Turner was Joe Smith making a lot less money,
Yeah.
you would be as frustrated. You would be as frustrated.
No, if he wasn't hitting at the top of the order to be, shift the dynamic of the lineup and be a table setter, and it just.
That's my point. It's like
I feel like Trey Turner, like if he stood on second base and took his at bats this weekend from the second base bag, could not have gotten the ball out of Citizens Bank Park. I'm serious. Like I need to see more, and I need to see it when it matters more. It's a personal thing. It is. Like it really is. It's nothing against. Like I don't want to say it's a personal thing. I don't mean that like he's a bad guy. He's a great guy. I really feel the frustration already watching it. And maybe that's just me. Maybe most people out here are like, that's not fair. JT Realmuto was 1 for 9 this weekend and struck out 5 times. He looked like utterly incapable of catching up to a pitch. That should be where you're upset. Or you should look at your boy Bryce Harper getting off the hook, 1 for 11 with 3 strikeouts. His only hit of the weekend, a broken bat single in the 9th that should have never happened in the first place. Like, fair. Trey Turner right now is the guy that I'm like, my God.
Yeah, and I think that's the point I was making, is that there is an expectation level for Trey Turner that he just seems to be just below, even when he has a really good year like last year. And that
had a good year, played much better defensively. He deserves credit for all of those things, and it's not things like again. Like I think I'm pretty fair, and I frankly feel like I am expressing a frustration that a lot of people feel watching him, and whether or not it's entirely fair, like the salary is real.
That's the point.
It's real. Like you can't just be like, well, if he wasn't making $27 million over the next decade per year, you wouldn't feel that way. Well, guess what? He is, so I do.
Right. If he was on a $120 million contract instead of a $300 million contract, you probably just chalk it up as bad weekend. But because he is your second highest paid player on the team, behind Bryce Harper, and he's your leadoff hitter, your catalyst, and he's supposed to be, the top shortstop, if not the top. I mean, obviously there's Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson now are better players, but certainly one of the top 5 shortstops in the sport. It's when those things happen, it drives you more nuts.
And you know what? Like the reality of it is you have 3 games against the Nationals this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Turner has 5 hits or 6 hits in this series. And we get back on here on on Friday, and you're like, look at that. Trey Turner's hitting .313 after 6 games. And you spent 7 minutes of your podcast on Monday expressing frustration. Like, that's the thing. Like you get consecutive hits and at bats this time of year, and you jump from hitting 113 to 300. Like forget the numbers for a second. Like I know what happened this weekend. It's not about the numbers. It's about the way I feel when I watch it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I don't think that it's unjustified what you're saying. It's just there just seem to be. He's one of those guys who he'll put up good numbers in the end of the year, and then you try and go back and remember what were his best moments of the year, and you have a hard time remembering them. Like there are some, sure. Like he's going to get big hits. He's going to, it's going to happen. Like,
you can't hit 300 and not have any big hits, even if you want to describe it that way.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to get a big hit, a hit that has a material impact on the outcome of a baseball game. But I don't know, man.
We got a couple comments on this. It's like Trey just looks so lost sometimes. I don't get it, from F. Brox. And I really felt that what bat was when he struck. Was it the one you talked about? He struck out on 3 pitches.
Yeah, 3 pitches on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was the one that really stuck out to me this weekend. And then he also asked, should Kyle still be the leadoff hitter? My answer, I don't want to get into the lineup discussion, but my answer to that is probably no at this point. I mean, I think Kyle Schwarber is a very good leadoff hitter. But I don't think batting Turner behind him makes the lineup any better. Right. Is what it is at this point.
Well, people are going to look. People are going to ask about the lineup. They're going to ask about the hitting coach. They're going to ask about all sorts of things early on because of what has happened the last few years. And that's the reality of it. The Phillies are not going to be evaluated like 22 other baseball teams. Around, like it's always going to be like this with the Yankees. It's always going to be like this with the Red Sox. Like there's always going to be this hyper overly critical emotional analysis with certain teams, but this team especially, it ramps up because of what has happened in the past. It's not about 3 games. It's about 3 games and 3 years or 3 Octobers. That's why people, when you jump on Twitter middle of Sunday's game asking about Kevin Long, you're not going to fire a hitting coach 24 innings into a season, but people are on edge about what this offense is and the direction that they feel like it could be going this year. And it didn't help that they hit 186 as a team this weekend. By the way, only the Royals, A's, and Giants were worse. And they slugged 278 as a team over 3 games against the Rangers. It's not good.
No, it's not good, Bob. It's not good. And I apologize. Russ noted to me that we're having mic issues this morning. You were a little hot, and he said my mic wasn't working. He sent me a text. He says, your mic's not working. And I went and looked down to my left, and I had accidentally unplugged my microphone. I'm sitting here talking.
It's early.
It's not even.
The Phillies are still finding their way. We're still finding our way.
We're still finding. We're a little. We have a little anxiety here at the beginning of the show, right?
Did you like anything this weekend before we even get to the pitching, which that obviously has to be talked about?
Three guys hit well. I thought Marsh had a good series. I thought Stott was okay. I thought Justin Crawford had a pretty good series. Makes a really nice catch on Saturday in center field.
Sure did.
Save a run. I thought those 3 guys, if you're looking for positives that stood out, those 3 guys for sure. Pitching wise, I mean, some of the guys in the bullpen looked okay. Some of them looked okay.
Well, before we're not going to be able to do a show this year without talking about Bryce Harper. I actually think that for whatever reason, maybe it's because when I turn on sports talk radio, I see that there's just so much discourse about Bryce Harper that I go like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to have that conversation. But let's not ignore the fact that he was the storyline this offseason. And is he elite? 215, 610, like that whole deal, right? What do we think? I mean, he had a tough weekend. You said, and so it's not the one. Well, it is partly the 1 for 11. It wasn't good, but after the game, he seemed to not really be in lockstep with his manager in terms of the way that the weekend was described, the approach was described by Rob, and as you noted at the beginning. Do you get the sense that there is like an agitation on his part? Like where do you think he mentally is? That's my biggest question in this moment is like, where's Bryce Harper at right now?
It's hard to say just yet. I think that we still need more time to determine if he's agitated or not. Like he didn't seem to be, he was another one of the guys that didn't seem to be like frustrated about the weekend. I think that, they look at it and they just say, hey, listen, it's 3 games. Yeah. Baseball players have this mentality because the season is so long. It's like, you don't start bothering us with this stuff until after we're struggling for multiple weeks.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong about that.
Yeah. I don't think you get just talking to him. Like he's very measured right now, very normal. Like I don't get the sense that he's annoyed or frustrated or mad. Like I just get the sense that it's Bryce.
But when I say like, what's his mindset right now? I mean, like if you could really like peel into it, is he happy? Like, is he all in? He's under contract. He's probably going to be here for the duration of it, unless things really get crazy. He hasn't said anything like, I want out, maybe we need to change the scenery. He hasn't talked negatively necessarily about the team's like off season, but like he's talked about the lack of protect. Like yesterday, I'm listening to him talk, and it struck me that he wasn't just like, yeah, maybe we were a little anxious. Like our manager just said 4 minutes ago to everybody. Like, I think it's notable that he kind of swerved the other way a little bit. It's just like it's very subtle, and I don't even know if it matters in the grand scheme of things, but I just get this like sense that there's something off with him, like in terms of the way that he feels in this environment.
Well, you're not alone on this, because if you could just look we have a couple comments here. Like Chris says, Harper just doesn't look like he's having fun playing baseball. David Waitman weighs in saying Bryce looks like he's not having fun with baseball, seems agitated, can't relax. Obviously, from an outside perspective, right? That's what people are seeing.
And we talked about that at length last season, and I noted that several times. It's the very same things. Now, he spoke to it, though, and said, that's not the case. I'm good. Everything's fine.
Yeah, and so if you recall, and this is why I say I think I need more time. Like last year, when we talked about this, I got the sense in the clubhouse that he was that guy, that he was frustrated, that he was not happy, that he was kind of miserable, right? And I know he addressed it. I haven't gotten that sense yet. Again, it's one weekend, right? I've talked to the guy twice, right? Like, so it's not like I get that sense yet that he's there. If he's still struggling 2 weeks from now, then I think we might be able to sit there and say, is how's Bryce in the locker room? Like, is he, whatever. And then I think I might have a better read. But right now, I just can't say that he doesn't seem as annoyed as he seemed at times last year. I'm just being honest about it. Like, it's just, that's the way it is, right? So Larry Bird brings us an interesting thing up. Is it all goes back to the contract extension. Remember, he wanted the extension. Dave said no. Bryce took it personally.
I don't think that is wrong. I mean,
yeah, you're right.
I mean, I think that is very, very obvious. I mean, it's astute observation, but I think it's also very apparent. I mean, I just look at the guy that when he got here, he talked so much about, and maybe the Phillies told him to quiet down on this front. I don't know, but he talked about wanting to recruit other stars here, and he did. Like Trey Turner is here for better or worse. But it just felt like he was not just the face of the organization, but that he was going to entirely change the dynamics here. And like, in fairness, like he has, they've made the playoffs, they've won divisions, they've won an NLCS. They've been on the doorstep of a championship. Like, it is much different than when he arrived here. And so in a lot of ways, he's delivered on pretty much he's won an MVP here. He's delivered on a lot of the promises other than winning a championship, which you can argue is somewhat his fault, not his fault at all. But it just feels like his outward messaging, his overall demeanor has changed a little bit. One from like, I am Philly, I am the Phillies, to like, it's baseball. Get on my face with this shit, Yeah.
And like, you know what? I do wonder a little bit, Bob, if Schwarber kind of becoming the everyman hero in this city that he has become. Much like, I compare Schwarber to like Jason Kelce when he was for the Eagles, right? Like Jason Kelce was a great center, probably a Hall of Fame center. Certainly wasn't the best player on the Eagles team, but he was the most relatable to people, right? So I look at Schwarber, and Schwarber had was runner-up to MVP last year. He had an all-time season. And I think that his personality and his leadership style and everything, so he kind of takes that mantle as the public, the guy that everybody that loves on this team publicly. And Bryce kind of takes a slight step back there. And
you think he's happy to do that?
Yes and no. I think, he's fine with it. But I also think that there was part of Bryce that liked being the guy that was beloved. And not to say that he's not beloved right now, because I still think he is, but I think that he has less margin for error now than he did before because of Schwarber. And that's not, I just think that's just the way it is. It's the way that this is all kind of worked out. It's the way that this is kind of, blossomed in this.
We all kind of, it was funny. Like his first few years here, we would say, oh, he's pandering. And a lot of people didn't, like, they would point that out. I'll be honest with you. I liked it. Pander.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me we're great.
Yeah.
Put the fanatic on your whatever. Like, I know he did that the other day. He had the stuff on opening day, but like when you're playing against the Mets in London and you homer, like slide into the dugout. That's cool. I don't know. Why do we do that stuff? It's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Lie to me.
Yeah.
Lie to me and sell your products. I don't care.
He had some kind of neon fanatic sign. I don't even know what it is, but it's above his locker. Like, it's weird. Like, I mean, he's still doing it. He's also got a stack, and this is the weirdest thing.
No rival packs though, or rivalry packs though. I don't want to see that ever again.
So he's got
none of that.
It's like these plastic containers, and they're stacked 10 high, He's the only one in the clubhouse that has this, but it's where his lockers, where his locker's situated by the back door there.
Yep.
So he's got the little extra space, but it's 10 little things stacked high with a different pair of cleats, different color pair of cleats in each one of them. Like everybody else has their cleats kind of just tucked at the bottom of their locker or whatever. He's got like this special thing. So like he's still him. He's still Bryce. He's still got all of that kind of flair to him, right? But yeah, I mean, I guess it is noticeable that he's not as much of the panderer as he once was. That is a little noticeable for sure.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll revisit and see how this week goes against his former team, and we'll reconvene and decide where he's at. But all right, let's flip things over to the pitching. And honestly, in light of Jesus Luzardo's underwhelming performance yesterday, I actually think it made Aaron Nola's look better by comparison, at least the final line and the net result. We'll start with Aaron Nola. 5 innings, 5 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. I felt that he got away with some stuff. Actually, right off the bat, he got Nimmo the first at batter of the game, and he left like an 88-mile-per-hour cutter, like just center cut up in the zone that probably should have been pummeled. And Nimmo swung through it. I felt like this went back. So here you go. I think in a positive light, we are back to where we were a couple of years ago with Aaron Nola. We were like, why can't he finish with 2 strikes? Why can't he finish with 2 outs? Why can't he prevent that? It feels like he climbs 98% of the hill and then can't get up it. And I think that's kind of where we were at on Saturday, as opposed to last season, where it did not matter home, way, 0 outs, 2 outs, strike 1, strike 2, first pitch. It was just bad. There were some encouraging things from Aaron Nola, I thought, on Saturday, but again, just too many mistakes with 2 strikes.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 home runs, I'd say the second one was a terrible, terrible pitch. That curveball just hung. It was a meatball, man. Like, I mean, it was just like, go ahead, smoke this thing. The first one, I give Seager a little bit of credit. The pitch was, top of the zone, and he beats Nola to the spot. You give a hitter a little bit of credit on that one. But at the same time, Nola gets bailed out by the great catch by Crawford, which would have scored a run easily. And that, so you take that trade-off and say, okay, maybe the hitter deserves credit on the home run, but boy, you got away with one on a great catch by your center fielder. So that's the trade-off. In essence, what you ended up with was basically the start that you got. And it was not awful, but it was not great either. Like it was, 7 strikeouts are encouraging. He had some swing and miss. Curveball was mostly good other than the 1 home run. So there were some signs you go, okay, all right, not bad. And he said, afterwards he said, if I feel good, like I felt like my arm feels good, my body feels good. Like he was encouraged individually. You just take that for what it is. Look, if Aaron Nola is just a guy, let's imagine he gives you 1 more inning, right? Let's say he goes 6 innings. If he's going to give you 6 innings, 3 runs, you're going to take that. He's the back end of your rotation at this point.
Yeah.
You're going to take that out of that guy, and that'll be fine. You would like it to be better, and there'll be some days he will be better. But if that's what he usually is, that's what you're just going to get.
Any thoughts on fastball velocity? I know that's always a big storyline with him early in the year. It was frigid on Saturday. He averaged 91.4 with it. Not exactly off the charts. He did top out at 93.
Yeah.
I guess I would have liked to have seen a little bit more on that front, but not. I'm willing to, given the context, say, okay, like we'll see.
Yeah, no, me too. I would like to see more. I mean, he obviously he touched 95 in the World Baseball Classic, right?
Yeah.
So we know it's there. It's not like it's not there. And you could kind of say maybe it's a little bit the elements, right? I mean, the temperature difference between him pitching in Houston and Miami in March versus pitching in the 40 degrees in Philadelphia, that maybe takes a tick or 2 off, but it was still a little light. Like for me, I would have preferred that he was about 1 mile per hour faster on average Saturday, and then you sit there and go, okay, you take the weather into account. Okay, that makes more sense. So I thought it was just a tick low. So, because next start's going to be in Colorado in April, which is going to be miserable, right? Like, I mean, so he's not going to get a decent weather game for a bit. he's got to fight through that. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? We'll see. I mean, that one didn't bother me as much. Not that Luzardo's. I think that Luzardo's start didn't bother me really all that much either, other than I want to say this. So, I mean, obviously he gets hit for 6 runs, 2 big home runs, the 3-run homer by Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, dude, what the hell with that this weekend? Andrew McCutchen didn't have a team until, a month ago? I mean,
yeah, I know. And the way that they're doing it in Texas, like, it is a strict platoon at DH. Like, as soon as the opponent brings in an opposite arm player, that's it. They're going to Jock Peterson or vice versa. And then even in was it either the opener? I think it was the opener. They actually pinch hit a second time and went with Kyle Higashioka as the third guy. So, like, it's a strict platoon, but they couldn't get him out. The thing that I found was interesting. And I had a conversation with Luzardo about this because Rob said in his press conference that on the McCutchen pitch, he wanted to get the pitch more in, right? It was a fastball. It was 97, but it was it was too much of the plate, right? Way too much of the plate. And McCutchen drives it out of the park. And so I asked Luzardo in his scrum afterwards, said, hey, did you just want to get that pitch in? And he was like, no, I wanted it up and away. And I was like, okay. So I went up to him afterwards. I was like, I didn't want you to think I was some kind of idiot by asking that question. I said, your manager said you wanted it in. He goes, I know he did. He said, it's understandable that you asked. Don't worry about it. He's like, I didn't think anything wrong with the question. He said, but I just wanted it up and away. He said, I just missed badly. And I'm like, okay. All right. So, I mean, but if you look at where that pitch was, it was in the happy zone on the inner half, and he wanted it up and away. Right. That's a big miss.
Yeah, it's a big miss. He was good early on. First 2 innings, he was clean. He ran into trouble in the third, rebounded a little bit. Then he doesn't get help out in right field after the home run. And at that point, you're just like, this game's over. Things happen out in right field, but it's funny. Like, you saw Saturday, Garcia makes up a lot of ground. I think I saw that StatCast said it was like a 3-4 start play, like a 25% catch probability. Everybody's talking about how Nick Castellanos would never make that play, and they're right, he wouldn't. Next day, though, loses the ball in the sun. Effectively, just at that point, it's big fart noise. It's over.
Yeah.
I thought Luzardo was okay. I thought, here's the thing. I'm talking about him as potentially being a Cy Young guy. Like, if I'm going to be kind of underwhelmed by Aaron Nola, 5 innings, 3 runs, then I should pummel Jesus Luzardo for 6 innings, 6 earned runs. You got to find a way. We'll see how it plays out. I didn't see anything that yesterday that made me go like, all right, there's a problem here. We're not having a conversation like, were they on his stuff? Was he tipping pitches? Like, I thought he was pretty good. 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, first time out. He just made a couple mistakes. And if he continues to make those mistakes, it'll be a much different conversation. After 1 start, though, I can't.
Yeah, no, I'm with you too. I'm with you too, because really, I mean, when you look at the 2 starters this weekend, in the 2 losses, it's 2 missed pitches for both of them that end up costing you. First start of the season, 2 missed pitches. You're not gonna hold those over those guys' heads. But you're right. If it continues, then it's a problem. And it brings you up. You brought up the Garcia play with the losing the ball in the sun. And Chris asked this question. I just figured I'd answer it for him. He said, can you explain how the Garcia blunder was ruled a hit? Yes, it did not hit his glove. So therefore it's not an error. The way that the outfield plays are designed. And you'll recall, we talked about it after opening day on that O'Neal Cruz's efforts. Neither one of those were errors. Those were both misplays by the center fielder. Neither one of them were errors. And the reason is because he didn't get to the ball. And so if the ball lands without an outfielder touching the ball, they're going to credit the hitter with a hit and not an error on the fielder, even though we all know it was a misplay by the outfielder. So that's just the way scoring is in baseball.
I have probably maybe the biggest thing that happened this weekend in terms of the 2026 Phillies opportunity to compete for a championship did not even happen in Philadelphia. It happened west, and Zach Wheeler's rehab appearance with the Iron Pigs, and you were supposed to go up there. I know that your schedule got changed around a little bit.
Yeah.
All indications are that went well. Obviously, the first inning was impressive. You wrote over the weekend a little bit about how you might piece together the timeline. It won't be the second start. It doesn't look like it'll be the third, which was what I was kind of dialing in on. But how do the Phillies, you think, see his timeline for return?
Yeah, I think Rob put together some clues when he kind of laid it out for us. Now, it sounds like there's already a slight change to this. We'll see. So his next start will be Friday in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay.
That's a thing, right? It's happening. He is actually going to go with Lehigh Valley to Durham, and he's going to make that start. Rob originally said that the following start will occur at Reading. It might not actually occur at Reading. It might actually be with Lehigh Valley again.
Okay.
Rob acknowledged yesterday morning that he may have misspoke when he said Reading, but it might actually be up at Lehigh Valley. Regardless, that's all that they'll tell us right now. So if you look at the buildups, right? So they did 3 innings yesterday in his first start, which was great. Rob said Friday in Durham, he's going to be 50 to 55. 4 innings, 50 to 55 pitches. If you assume the next start after that, whether it's in Reading or Lehigh, is going to be 5 innings, 70, right? That means the following start, wherever it is, and it could be at the major league level, you're probably at 685. That's probably enough for them to say, yeah, come up and do it at the big league level. You can go 6 innings, 85 pitches. We'll be fine having that. So instead of doing one more rehab start just to get to 90, you know what I'm saying? So I looked at the math and looked at this. Okay, if you give them this rest and whatever, it's either the last game of the Cubs series, which would be April 15th, or the first game of the Braves series, which would be Friday, April 17th. Okay. So it's kind of how I have it mapped out. Is it possible that there's one more start in the minors and that gets pushed a week? Yeah, I guess. But that's kind of where I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's very encouraging. And if things continue to go on the same trajectory, I think you reasonably expect him back. I think it'll be that Braves series personally, but he's back then, and that's where they're at. Then great. I think that's a massive, massive win for the Phillies, a huge positive development. Ryan Kerkering, same thing here. He can't get back soon enough, and this is a guy when he last walked off the mound.
Yeah,
we all know.
Yeah, I mean he had a really impressive outing with Lehigh Valley. Only threw 10 pitches, 7 for strikes, 97 on the fastball, but just kind of dominated 3 batters down there. He's supposed to go. The plan is he's going to pitch again Tuesday and Wednesday. So tomorrow and Wednesday at Lehigh Valley, going an inning in each. And then they'll see what happens after that. He's not eligible to come back until the 7th, so they still have to keep him out for another 8 days. That's just because of the 15-day requirement for injured list. But I think that assuming nothing goes wrong, he will be back April 7th. And my guess is that he'll replace Zach Pop.
That would be my guess as well. I don't know if I'm being unfair, but I've texted you twice and said I don't see this.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I look at Zach Pop, and I don't want to kill the guy. I mean, these guys trying to make a living and hang on as a relief pitcher in Major League Baseball. But I got the sense when you looked at how this bullpen was put together, they have other guys obviously that are in the minors in AAA or on minor league contracts that have later opt-outs, right? And so Zach Pop is a guy who's just he's like, all right, let's throw him in there. He's a guy. If you remember, they did this with Connor Brogdon a couple years ago, right? We all knew he wasn't going to be long for the bullpen, but he opened the season surprisingly with the team. And then after, I don't know, was it like 4 outings, he got DFA'd. And I think Zach Pop is kind of in that similar boat. that like he's just the guy to kind of get you through until Kerkering's ready, and so they don't burn somebody else that they feel that they can use later in the season. And I think that that's just kind of how it got put together.
That all makes sense to me. I want to ask you a little bit real quick, because I don't think that the fate of the season rests on Zach Pop's right arm, right?
Yeah.
Like Kyle Backus, third lefty out of the bullpen behind Alvarado and Banks. He's like a factor in this thing, is he not? Like, isn't the expectation to be part of a mix and get some key outs? I mean, I know we're not talking about high leverage here all the time, but like,
yeah. So he's kind of, you would expect that he's the role that Tanner Banks used to have, right? Because if you assume Banks has kind of taken over.
What scares me about that, thank you for saying that, but what scares me about that is that Tanner Banks ended up having to get a lot of key outs, and then became
for sure
trusted lefty and elevated.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he had to get a lot of key outs because of the whole Alvarado situation. Like ultimately, it's what it be. But when they went into the season last year, Tanner Banks was the third lefty behind Alvarado and Strahm. Now Banks is the second lefty, so Backus is the third. The thing that I thought was most interesting coming into the season as far as the bullpen was that they brought a fourth lefty in Tim Meza.
Yeah.
That I did not see. I kind of thought that they would just go with the three. And either one of two things is true here. Either they come to the realization that you really just need to have 8 relievers, 4 left, 4 right, and that way you have a matchup advantage at all times. Or they have 2 guys that are your number 3 lefty, and neither one. When you have 2 guys that are your number 3 lefty, you don't really have a number 3 lefty. Yeah. So it's one of those 2, and it might well be the second. Although I thought Meza gave him a decent 2 innings the other day.
The reason why this is more of a concern, like for me, is that I like Tanner Banks. He was I don't know where they would have been without him a year ago. The job that he did, especially after Alvarado was suspended, he was a godsend for them. There is a lot of volatility in the performance of major league relievers, especially guys that don't have plus stuff. And so if there is a regression, like when they brought Tanner Banks here, they brought him here with an idea in mind of what he is and what his ceiling is. And if it looks a little bit more in line with that, then you need another one of these lefties to kind of step up and be a little bit better. Backus, I thought, was okay in the spring. It was kind of a rough weekend for him. I mean, I know he didn't give up runs yesterday, but walking a hit and off the heels of what we saw on Thursday, that's on my radar. Like, that is one thing that I'm looking at and saying, like, all right, like, let's make sure that this gets shored up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're
because we're 3 games in, and if like we need to talk about something, then like let's talk about what the like roster and the implications of it, and where potential problems could be, other than the offense stinks. Like, we already know that.
Here's the one thing I'll bring up on this, Bob. And you can go back, and I think I remember doing a story about this last year. I believe it was middle of the summer I did it, and I looked back at, and I don't remember exactly the numbers, but I can give you rough estimates that each year under Dombrowski, 22, 23, 24, 25, the number of pitchers who started the year in the bullpen versus the number of pitchers who made it to the postseason roster it was like half or less. So if you look at the 8 guys that are in the bullpen, odds are that 4 or less will be on the postseason roster.
Okay.
If you base it on just the trajectory of the way things went under Dombrowski, 22, 23, 24, 25. Usually there's an injury that kind of comes into play. There's ineffectiveness, whatever. You would like to think that Duran, Alvarado, Banks, and Kerkering. Now, Kerkering wasn't on the opening day roster, so I guess we can't count him. But at least those 3 are certainly going to be in. Keller would be the 4th, right? I guess the righty, that would be the 4th, Brad Keller. So, but then you look at the rest of that bullpen and you think Jonathan Bolin should be part of that, right? Like, I would think Jonathan Bolin's part of that.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe. But the rest is like, I don't know. I don't know if you get that far, So there's probably a handful of guys, or at least 2 or 3 guys who aren't on the roster right now, aside from Kerkering, who will be the guys that you're going to be counting on at the end of the year.
Around the league this weekend, anything else jump out at you? I don't know what your one last thing is, and so I don't want to chip into that too much, but just anything that jumped out at you at all around the rest of baseball this weekend?
Yeah, so I would say the rookies around baseball. Boy, did they have a weekend. Like, you look around, JJ Weatherholt had a big weekend. We talked on Friday about Kevin McGonigal. But I mean, it was a ton of them that they really just had a really, really good year. And Chase DeLauder was decent.
Yeah.
Carson Bengy had a home run for the Mets. Sal Stewart. Like, there were some guys that just really, you look at them and say, yeah, you're a rookie, and that's a big deal. And okay, you've got to earn your time and work your way in. But even guys like Crawford had a nice opening week. I think that the rookies were really impressive, and that was the thing that really stuck out. But I had a few more, Bob, that I wanted to get to before we got to one last thing. ABS. What are your thoughts here after an opening weekend where there was a lot of challenges?
There were the one that got the most publicity was the CB Buckner sequence with Eugenio Suarez. That was awesome. I mean, the crowd was actually getting into it at that point.
Yeah.
I think I asked you about this maybe a week or two ago. I said, do you think that there's going to be an impact on the psychological back and forth between the player and the umpire? Like, at some point, it's sort of like, I want to make sure I use the right word here, but it's like sort of like emasculating. Like, when you're back there doing your job and you're missing these pitches, and it's like, nope, you're wrong. And the whole stadium's like, yep, you're wrong. And like 40,000 people are getting fired up over the fact that you're wrong. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic.
It is weird, but here's what I'll say. I think that look, if you miss
but don't you think, listen, these guys are professional. Like, let me reframe this. Don't you think, like, these guys make a call and they feel reasonably confident about it and they get challenged and then they look up at this board? Because this would be me. Forget like holding it against the player. And it's not even necessarily that, but like, you imagine, like, you think you have it right, you're doing the best you can, and you just look up and it's like, nope, you're wrong. And you like take that information in and you're like, Jesus.
Well, you could sit there and say that happened to Kyle Schwarber on Saturday because he challenges a call on a strike call, challenges it, and it turns out the umpire was right. So then the Phillies are out of challenges. The very next pitch is a ball, and Schwarber gets rung up.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe that's one of those instances that you're talking about. I don't know for sure. I look at this from two perspectives. The first being that I think fans will realize just how close a lot of these pitches are. That, yes, the umpire is getting it, quote unquote, wrong. But we're talking about like a tenth of an inch off. Like, I mean, you see some of these challenges, and it's like the tip of the baseball is clipping the zone, right? It's very, very, very tight. You just get a sliver of red. Okay, fine. Like, you maybe get there and go, all right, these guys are calling 300 pitches a game, and they're getting 290 of them right and 10 of them wrong. But look at the 10 that they're getting wrong. Maybe you realize, man, these umpires are a little bit better than I thought. That's number one. I would hope that fans would recognize that. The second thought I have on this, though, is the opposite, and has nothing to do with fans. But, a lot of times batters will, or even catchers will ask an umpire, where that pitch was. Hey, was that, I swung at that pitch. Was that a strike? Or, was that a ball? Or, if an umpire misses makes a call, they don't challenge it, and they say, hey, where did you have that one? Because you're trying to set the strike zone, right? And you want to kind of know for your pitcher so you know what to call and what you're going to get. Well, maybe an umpire looks back at the catcher or looks back at the batter and says, I don't know, challenge me. You know what I'm saying? It changes that relationship a little bit, and that makes that a little bit awkward. So, I think ABS is going to impact the game in a far greater way than maybe even baseball realizes. And there might have to be some adjustments eventually to it in certain respects. I like it for the most part. I do. And I didn't think I would, but I actually do like it for the most part. Maybe it's because my seat is literally right behind the ABS computer. So every pitch, whether it's challenged or not, I get a direct sight line and go, oh, that was a ball. Oh, that was a strike. Like I know every pitch, right? Yeah. So I get a slight advantage of that at Citizens Bank Park. But I do think that there's going to be some hiccups along the way with it for sure.
Well, the thing that jumped out at me was what happened in Atlanta on Saturday night. And old friend Carlos Estevez comes in a 2-0 game in the 9th inning, the Royals are shutting out the Braves. He's on for the save. And let me just walk you through this sequence. Talk about a nightmare. Drake Baldwin walk. Matt Olson single. Austin Riley pops out. Okay, here we go. We're going to get out of it. Mike Yastrzemski singles. Runs, scores. Ozzie Albies walks. Runners on first and second. 2-1 Royals. Michael Harris singles on a ground ball. To Estevez. Runs, scores. Game's tied. Dom Smith grand slam. That talk about just an absolute nightmare scenario for Estevez and the Royals there. And I actually was watching that game in real time and just said, wow, that escalated quickly.
Yes. No, 100%. It did. And I don't know. I just think it's an interesting thing. And of course, we talked about this before. I brought this up before. I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. I mean, Real Muto was 3 for 3 so far on challenges.
Yeah.
And you saw Salvi Perez in Kansas City. He was spot on in a game. I think it was opening day. Was just nailing every pitch at the bottom of the zone. Like, if you have catchers who have caught a lot of innings like these guys have, they're going to get it right more often than not. I mean, JT is going to get one wrong eventually. He's not going to be perfect for the season, right? But he's probably going to be have one of the best percentages, and it can change a game. Like, you could turn a walk into a strikeout, or whatever. Like, even on the other side, if you look at it from a hitter's perspective, you could change a strikeout into a hit. Like, I mean, there are so many things ways that this can impact this game that I'm not sure that anybody's really, really ready for it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I know you've been banging that drum, for a while here now.
Yeah. I got two more items, and I'm trying to debate which one I want to make one last thing. But I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to go this way first, because otherwise people will accuse me of making the Mets the one last thing every time. I sent you an article yesterday.
Yes.
Bo Bichette's getting booed by the New York fans already. You surprised?
Am I surprised he's getting booed? Look, I said to you last week, I just really don't think he's a special player. And I would like this. I say this, and I'm going to give myself some credit. Certainly, I like the Phillies. I want the Phillies to win. You could say I now root for the Phillies, having been 3 years removed from covering them. And I think I keep it real. And I am not saying that Bo Bichette is not a good player because the Phillies missed out on him or anything like that. I think he's a fine player. I just don't think he's a special player. And I said I don't think at the end of the season that anyone's going to feel like, wow, imagine if they had signed him, it would have been so much different. That's my belief. And I don't think because he had a bad weekend that I'm validated by that. Again, you could have a good game tonight and it looks awesome across the board. That all being said, I'm not entirely surprised that he struggled, because I just don't think he's that good. I'm certainly not surprised at all that he was booed. And this is a guy, mind you, who the Mets fans celebrated for picking the Mets over the Phillies. He's one of us. See, he wanted to be a Met. He got no grace for that whatsoever. The fact that he chose the Mets, the fact that he leveraged the Phillies, the team's arch rival, their biggest nemesis right now, and picked them. People said, nah, it doesn't matter. You suck. That guy, Frank, or whatever his name is, the Barstool guy, the Mets fan who goes nuts after every game. People love him. He's like, I think he was calling him Bichette, and said that he's the worst signing of all time. I know that's a shtick. It's a bit that he does. But, I mean, I think a lot of people were on him already.
Yeah. No, I know. It's kind of interesting.
That being said, you could say people are on Bryce Harper after winning an MVP and being a really good player here for 6 years after one bad weekend. So, to be fair,
we're just it's a what have you done for late me society anymore?
Yeah, it really is.
You can't take anything else out of that. All right, here's my one last thing. I'm going to read you a slash line, Bob. I want you to tell me who this slash line belongs to.
No shot I get this right.
Yeah, you'll get it right. I think you will. 462, 650, 923.
Oh, I know who that is.
Whose slash line is that after the opening weekend?
It's the Phillies left fielder come late July. Bring Mike Trout home, baby.
Is Mike Trout back?
Yeah, I don't know, man. You talk about guys that are seen as elite, not elite, having the Harper conversation. This guy is like the best baseball player, I think. I mean, other than Shohei Ohtani, you got to give him his flowers. But he's the best baseball player of my time. I mean, I loved Griffey and Bonds, I guess if you want to count Bonds, but there's an asterisk to that. Those guys are all like generational players. You can make an argument, throw them into a list of 5 to 7 guys. Man, Mike Trout is like all-time good. Yes. And we all just kind of forgot about it because he plays for the Angels and he got hurt a lot the past couple of years. It'd be great to see him come out and have a year like that, whether it be with the Angels or, if he ever decided to want to come back here. If he's going to hit 460, like, come on back.
I mean, obviously that's not going to be maintained. He's not going to hit 460. But the thing of it is, he's played 4 games instead of 3. The Angels had a 4-game series. 2 home runs, 7 walks in 4 games. 7 walks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Stole a base. He's been playing center field again, not on the corner, although he did DH on Sunday. So I think that's how they're going to try and, balance that a little bit. Say, okay, you can play center field, but you're not going to play every day in center field.
20 plate appearances, 7 walks, 6 hits.
Yeah.
Oh man, 650 on base percentage. It's not a weekend.
It's a hell of a weekend for Mike Trout. It's a hell of a weekend for Mike Trout. And if he's announcing his return with authority, and if he could stay healthy and just have a classic Mike Trout season, boy, is the conversation going to be all around him this summer.
Yeah,
I guarantee you.
Come on back. Millville's right there. You got your golf course. What are you doing? Come on.
Yeah, it's gonna. You can go to the September Eagles games now.
Trout watch. I mean, because look, the reality of it is like the Trout thing. It's always fun to talk about, but we went through this last year. You're like, who's your impact back from the right side that can run around and play outfield? There's not a long list of them, you know, and that's why you're talking about Luis Robert hitting 194, saying like, I would take a shot. He has the potential. He could do it because there's just not. There's just not that many options. So if this guy is healthy, has a functional year, I mean, we're going to talk about it. It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Even if it makes you want to roll your eyes and say it's not going to happen, it's a waste of breath. And it probably is, but the Phillies are going to need help again. Like you want my like one hot take after the opening weekend of Phillies baseball. They again, for like the 5th straight year, need help in the outfield.
Yeah.
They're going to
need it, and that name is going to come up. I just figured we should be the first to bring it up.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right, get us out of here. Time to go to work.
But that's it. And we want to thank everyone for tuning into this Monday episode of Cross. We didn't even before I even get into the take us out of here. We didn't even get into a series prediction of the Nationals.
Oh, I think they're gonna have a triumphant bounce back and win 2 out of 3 against this Washington Nationals squad.
I'm gonna go one further than that, Bob.
Okay,
they're gonna sweep the Nationals, right? Oh. And here's why I think that. I really like them tonight. I know you're this is the one you're sitting there going.
If you really? Just saw if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you should have just seen my face.
And you're sitting there thinking, "What? You'd really believe that with Taijuan Walker?"
You must really hate Foster Griffin.
Yeah, I just think that you're getting a good offensive game tonight. I just really do. I think this is take the over. Whatever the over under is for tonight's game, take the over. I think you're going to get it tonight. And then I think that they play really well for Andrew Painter in his first game. Like there's a reason they lined him up to face the Nationals for this, and that's good, and that's good for him. And I think you're going to see that. And then I think Sanchez just shuts the door on them on Wednesday.
Well, for what it's worth, the Phillies are minus 175 on the money line tonight, and that is the biggest number of the season for them. I believe they closed at 155 yesterday and lost as a favorite. So it is a strong Phillies line. Like there are not too many times that you put Taijuan Walker on the mound in recent years and you're a 175 favorite. So I will say that.
Yeah. So I think that I think it's an actual sweep for the Phillies. So, and I don't predict, me, I don't predict a lot of sweeps.
We're going to be back on Friday.
Yes.
Talking about the 4-2 Phils.
Yeah, exactly.
Climbed out of the basement after opening weekend.
There you go. There you go. So anyway, so that's our predictions for this week. Thanks for tuning in. If you don't forget, you can always find us on anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora. Best place though is right here on YouTube. And if you come on YouTube, click the thumbs up, ring the bell. You'll get a notification every time Bob and I go live. And if you're listening in the podcast, if you want to find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@Phightin Words. For Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony Sanfilippo saying thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we will talk to you again on Friday.